Alright, let's talk about the Mazda MX-3, one of the most underrated little coupes to come out of the 90s. The MX-3, often overlooked in the sea of more iconic vehicles from that era, remains one of Mazda's finest hidden gems. In a time when compact cars were all about practicality and low cost, Mazda decided to blend the heart of a sports car with the practicality of a small daily driver. The result was a car that was both nimble and quick, yet small enough to fit into any parking spot with ease. Despite its small size, Mazda managed to pack some serious personality under its hood, earning the love of a loyal group of enthusiasts and collectors today. With its unique design and hidden performance capabilities, the MX-3 stood out, and it deserves more recognition in the world of 90s cars. Mazda first introduced the MX-3 at the Geneva Auto Show in March 1991. It was officially launched later that year for the 1992 model year, and it was met with mixed reactions. Some people didn't quite know what to make of it, and others saw it as the compact car of the future. Regardless of its reception, Mazda had big plans for the car. Depending on where you were in the world, you might have seen it badged differently: an MX-3 Presidia in Canada, an Unos Presso or Autozam AZ3 in Japan, or a Unos 30X in Australia. Regardless of its badge, it was the same little pocket rocket under the hood. What made the MX-3 truly interesting was the fact that it was built on the EC platform, which was shared with the BG platform from the Familia, 323, and Protege models. This meant Mazda wasn't reinventing the wheel. They were taking a solid, reliable base and doing something fun with it. The idea wasn't just to build another compact car for the masses. It was to inject excitement and performance into a small package. And that's exactly what Mazda delivered. They took the basic elements of everyday driving and turned them into something fun for the enthusiast at heart. Now, let's dive into the heart of the MX-3, the engine. The engine lineup of the MX-3 is where things start to get really interesting. The base model came with a 1.6-liter inline-4 engine. Now, this may sound underwhelming, and in many ways it was. The 1.6-liter engine was perfectly adequate for day-to-day driving, but it wasn't exactly what you'd call a thrill to drive. But Mazda wasn't just stopping there. They had bigger plans for those who wanted more performance. Enter the MX-3 GS model. This was the high-performance version of the car, and it came with a 1.8-liter V6 engine. Now, this was the real showstopper. The 1.8-liter V6 in the GS model was unique for one big reason. It was the smallest production V6 engine in the world at the time, just 1.8 liters. Yet Mazda managed to make it sing with a red line of 7,000 RPM and a fuel cutoff at 7,800 RPM. The V6 engine produced 130 horsepower and 115 foot-pounds of torque, which may not sound like much in the grand scheme of things. But remember, the MX-3 was a very small, light car. With that much power in such a lightweight chassis, the car had a real sense of urgency when you hit the gas. To put it into perspective, the 0 to 60 time for the US version of the MX-3 GS was about 8.4 seconds. Sure, it wasn't setting any world records and was slower than some family sedans, but it was fast enough to put a big grin on your face. If you pushed it hard, you could get the quarter-mile time down to 16.4 seconds. Again, not blistering speeds, but for a car this size, it was more than enough to be fun. On top of that, the MX-3 GS had a top speed of 202 kilometers per hour for the European model, which was a solid figure for a car of its size and class. But there was more to this engine than just power. Mazda also fitted the V6 with their variable resonance induction system. This was a sophisticated intake system that adjusted itself at different RPMs to optimize power delivery. The VRIS system helped the V6 engine pull better at higher revs and made the car feel a lot more lively when you pushed it to its limits. With the VRIS, the GS model had a fantastic character, combining decent power with the joy of revving it to the red line and hearing that little V6 scream. Handling-wise, the MX-3 was equally impressive. It wasn't about straight-line speed, and this little coupe was built to handle curves and corners with ease. The MX-3 managed to pull 0.89 Gs on the skidpad, which was an impressive figure for a front-wheel drive car from the 90s. Much of that can be attributed to Mazda's clever suspension design. The car used a twin trapezoidal link rear suspension, which gave it stability and confidence in corners. It felt planted and responsive, making it a joy to drive on twisty roads. For those of you who love a good special edition, the MX-3 didn't disappoint. In 1993, Mazda released a special edition model, which was only available in limited numbers. This model came with the V6 engine, leather interior, heated seats available only in Canada, and Enkei wheels. Only 2,000 of these models were made, making them rare and highly sought after by collectors. Meanwhile, in Europe, Mazda released a more exclusive version called the MX-3 V6 SE. This version was limited to just 100 units, all painted white with a leather and suede interior. Rare, unique, and absolutely stunning, these special editions were the epitome of 90s cool. In terms of trims, the US market had two main variants of the MX-3, the RS and GS. The RS was the more affordable version, running from 1992 to 1996, and it came with the smaller four-cylinder engines. Meanwhile, the GS, available from 1992 to 1994 in the US and until '95 in Canada, was the performance-oriented version with the V6. The GS also came with upgrades like a dual-tip exhaust, a tighter steering ratio for sharper handling, four-wheel disc brakes, and sporty spoilers to give it a more aggressive look. These features helped distinguish the GS from the base RS and made it more appealing to those looking for something with more performance potential. One of the surprising aspects of the MX-3 was its fuel economy. Despite its sporty nature, the 1994 model with the V6 engine and a 5-speed manual transmission managed to achieve a respectable 25 miles per gallon in the city, 34 miles per gallon on the highway, and a combined 30 mpg. This kind of efficiency was impressive for a sport compact of the 90s and made the MX-3 a practical choice for daily driving, despite its performance credentials. For those of you who love modifying your cars, the MX-3 offers some interesting potential. The RS models, with their smaller four-cylinder engines, are prime candidates for engine swaps. Enthusiasts have swapped in engines like the B6T, BPT, and even turbocharged variants like the BPDT. On the other hand, the GS models often see engine swaps with the KLDE producing 168 horsepower or even the more powerful KLZE producing 200 horsepower. Imagine stuffing a 200 horsepower V6 into a car as light and compact as the MX-3. The performance possibilities become endless with a bit of creativity and mechanical know-how. But for all its potential, the MX-3 didn't achieve the commercial success Mazda had hoped for. It was overshadowed by its bigger, more well-known sibling, the MX-5 Miata. While the Miata stole the spotlight with its accessible sports car experience, the MX-3 flew under the radar. After only one generation, Mazda pulled the plug on the MX-3, leaving it as a forgotten relic of the 90s car world. It's a shame, really, because it was a fantastic car with a lot of untapped potential. The interior of the Mazda MX-3 was surprisingly well designed for a compact coupe, balancing sportiness and practicality. The dashboard was simple and functional with intuitive controls, while higher trims like the GS featured quality materials and leather seats, adding a touch of refinement. The front seats were snug and supportive, ideal for spirited driving, though the rear seats were more cramped, suited for occasional use. Despite its small size, the trunk offered decent space for daily needs, and the driver-focused layout with a sporty steering wheel and clear gauges ensured a connected, engaging driving experience. So, what's the takeaway from all of this? The Mazda MX-3 is one of those forgotten 90s gems that deserves more recognition. It had a unique design, a ridiculously small V6 engine that screamed with personality, solid handling, and enough modding potential to make it a favorite among enthusiasts. If you find one in good condition today, it's definitely worth considering, whether you're looking for a fun little daily driver or a sleeper project that could make all the other car enthusiasts turn their heads. In a world where car culture often gravitates toward the more well-known and iconic vehicles, it's important to remember the hidden gems, the cars that may not have achieved the same level of fame but still pack a punch. The Mazda MX-3 is one of those cars. It was a unique and fun little car that didn't quite get the attention it deserved, but for those who had the chance to drive one, it left a lasting impression. That's it for this deep dive into the Mazda MX-3. If you enjoyed this look at a forgotten classic, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more content like this. We're always uncovering hidden gems, forgotten legends, and cars that deserve a second chance in the spotlight. See you in the next one.